I wanted to talk just a little bit about some of the things you can do if you're an adult helping a child who's learning emotional regulation. And like I said, babies are really in touch with the physical feelings, and so are toddlers. And as a child grows, they need support, both to be taught and to be shown how to manage their emotions, how to feel the feelings in a healthy way, and then decide how they're going to act, rather than just to act knee-jerk from the emotional reaction. So they need to learn how to control it. Children learn what they see rather than what we say. So if we're saying do it this way, but we're actually doing it another way, that's what they're going to follow. So that's what makes parenting and working with children such a beautiful and challenging opportunity to develop ourselves as well. One of the things to be aware of is that I suppose we all have different capacity for different emotions. And I mentioned the shark music emotions, and that's definitely one factor. Some of us, our cup is almost entirely full when it comes to, say, anger or sadness. And so even a small bit of it sets us into overflow mode and we can't handle it, and we'll try to shut it down and the people around us. There's other things that fill us up as well, and so make it harder to handle situations that bring on the emotions. And so those are things like tiredness, sickness, hunger, thirst. Like if we're in a situation where we don't feel comfortable or we don't feel safe, then even a small bit of an emotion, and it could be like a positive emotion like excitement, can just overwhelm us, and definitely something where we feel disappointed or sad or are worried about something, that can just send us over the edge. So if you're working with a child or yourself, you can't empty the cup totally, but you can definitely increase the capacity by taking out the hunger, taking out the thirst, possibly taking out the sleep. And that's a little bit more complicated because in order to be able to rest and fall asleep, that parasympathetic nervous system has to be active. And if someone is feeling very stressed and is in a high emotional state, then their sympathetic nervous system is activated. So it's not always as easy as just like have a nap, go to have a sleep. But if they can, then that will definitely help. Making sure that thirst isn't a factor. And so if all of those needs are met, it leaves the person with a bigger capacity to handle the emotions and the emotional experiences. If someone does have a very full cup and are feeling like really swamped and overwhelmed by emotions, then play is something else that really helps drain it out, because especially if it's child-led play and they have free space and free reign to take the lead on the play is how children empty their own cups and let themselves get what they need in order to feel better in themselves and to process the emotions, to deal with them. So that rather than boxing them up the way many of us were taught, they literally act it out, they play it out and they process it, so it's not still stored in their body. And when they next experience the emotion, they don't have a whole pot of it to burn through. They literally just have the 90 seconds to pass through. There's the phrase, a dysregulated adult can't co-regulate with a child. And this co-regulation is huge for all of us. We all sort of help calm ourselves, I suppose, and rate how safe it is to be fully ourselves based on the people around us. So when someone's in a real heightened emotional state, the calmer you are, the more of a help you're going to be to them. So oftentimes the number one thing you need to do is actually to do all the emotional regulation strategies on yourself and with yourself. And then you can be there, you can make eye contact with the person, let them know you're there. They might not want touch, they might even want you to be in the space. They might just want to know that you're there and that you're supportive. So try to manage your own emotional state so that you're available for the other person. Talking quietly then as they come out of kind of the real stress mode and into that coming back out of stress mode, the parasympathetic nervous system, then things that can help that come online is if you're talking quietly, because then they're paying attention, they're listening to you. Like I said, if you're very, very calm, the breathing, naming the emotion, tuning into what the body is saying, the body scan, and then talking about where it came from and linking it to the need that was or wasn't met. And the biggest thing, I suppose, is to remember that emotions are, they're all good. You know, the way they're information, so there's no such thing as a bad emotion. I'm just going to draw this quickly. It can be helpful, I think, to think of emotions as kind of the spokes of a wheel. Just see if you can see that. And so if we decide that a certain emotion is do not go there, or is dangerous, or is to be stopped at all accounts, the wheel can't keep moving. The wheel will get stuck. So we need to be able to process through and move through all of the emotions. And that's life. Life brings us through all the different emotional states. And so the better equipped we are, and the more prepared and braver we are to be able to handle all of those emotions, the easier we're going to move through life. And depending on our own, I suppose, capacity and our own experiences, sometimes we'll be experiencing it for a small little amount, and sometimes it'll be a really big reaction. But either way, you will move through it and it will pass through. And no one gets it right all the time. And they reckon in parenting that even like the most attuned parent creating the most secure relationship with their child get it right 30% of the time, and the other time they're like misjudging or misunderstanding. And that's the reality of life and of relationships. And the important thing is to let the child know when you realize that you got it wrong, or that you made a mistake, or that you used to do it one way and now you want to do it another way, or that you're trying, or that you're getting overwhelmed and you're finding it too hard. Just to bring all of those realities of life out into the open, because you're human, they're human, and the more you can make it clear and obvious and real and honest to them that this is what being human entails. It entails being in all the different spokes of the wheel. It entails times where you feel overwhelmed because your cup was too full when something else came in on it. And it entails times where you take out how you're feeling on someone else, and that's not the child's fault, that's not that they did something wrong. No one else is responsible for your feelings, only you are responsible for your feelings. And so I'm really sorry I shouted at you earlier, and I said it was because you were holding us up or you were dawdling, and actually it wasn't. It's because I was stressed about something, or I was disappointed that person hadn't messaged me back or whatever, and I took it out on you, and it's not you, it's not your fault, and what I said wasn't okay. And that apology and that repair and that honesty about the experience teaches the child that this is what I can expect in life. When someone treats me in a way I don't deserve, I can expect that the person will apologize and will take responsibility for it and will make it better. And so that sends a little person out in the world who expects that, and who demands that, and who doesn't settle for being treated poorly, and who doesn't take responsibility for other people's feelings. And I'm sorry I made you angry, I'm sorry I disappointed you. And other analogies, people talk about being triggered, and of course we all are. We're triggered by things that happen, things that we haven't dealt with and we haven't processed. And one thing Gabor Mate said one time, he was like, if you're being triggered, do you want to stop the trigger from being pulled, or do you want to unload the weapon, the gun? And so when we deal with our own emotions and we look back at things that we haven't processed and haven't dealt with in the past, and we bring them out and we do our emotional regulation strategies ourselves, that's us unloading the weapon, so that we're not as lightly triggered, or we're not as easily triggered. And just it's hard work. It's definitely the work of a lifetime. And what you'll probably find, as in when you learn most new skills, first of all, you'll notice after the fact that you had a big emotional reaction and didn't deal with it in the way that you want to. Then you'll notice while you're doing it. So say you'll be upset over something and you'll start to like box it in, or you'll distract yourself by doing another activity, or you'll take it out on someone else and you'll be like, I'm doing it, this isn't what I want to do. Really normal, really natural. You'll still go through with it. And then after a while, you'll notice just before you're about to do it, and you'll be like, oh, wait, now here I go. I'm just about to check my phone, when actually I know I'm feeling worried about something and I'm going to go scroll through social media. And you'll be like, you might still do it, but you'll see that there's a choice. Okay, I could actually just do a body scan, check in with myself about what I'm feeling, what need is in threat. And then you'll get to a point where you notice in advance and you choose to do it the healthier way. So we all go through that kind of a process when we're learning any new skill. So that's really normal and inevitable. So that's all I wanted to say about emotional regulation. Really important topic, really important work, and it's something I'm really passionate about. So I just want to say thank you and well done to everyone who's doing the really hard work to develop their own emotional regulation and to support the people around them to develop their emotional regulation as well.